Hello and welcome guys to the State of United. My name is of course Theul. This is of course the UAF, the United African Fan, and this is day one of my recovery from that absolute horrendous match against Theul Sociedad that happened yesterday, where we won 1-0, but I don't consider that a victory, and I don't think any Man United fan actually considers that anything but a failure. Failure because we were supposed to score 2 goals, and unfortunately we only scored one. Now the match itself wasn't bad. Garnacho scored, the lad scored, the young kid scored, which kind of motivates him to obviously continue. And also him scoring does increase the squad's performance. It does this because it gives Ten Hag a little bit of more confidence in regards to who he can start, rather than relying on the same old, same old. And by the same old, I mean in that position, of course, Sancho. And as you know, as a United player or United fan rather, Sancho's absolutely pathetic. The guy is just absolutely horrendous. Not because he's doing bad necessarily, more so because he's just failing to live up to expectations. Sancho came from Borussia Dortmund, and we all thought that he was going to light up the team with dribbles and trying to get past defenders. But Sancho has been nothing but mediocre. Now, he isn't really the problem. No player at United is really the problem. They're more so just a problem in the bigger picture. And that goes for many players such as Ronaldo as well. And I'm going to get into Ronaldo quite soon. But let's talk about Sancho. Sancho's lack of performance and lack of creativity and lack of dribbling and lack of so many things has kind of limited the depth of the squad. You see, before Garnacho actually performed, there wasn't really anybody that could replace him. You could, of course, put out there Rashford. You could put Rashford on the left wing. You could, of course, also put on, I believe, Ilanga. However, Ilanga is wishy-washy and Rashford is just coming to form. And also Rashford, let's not talk about him in that Europa game. That guy was absolutely horrendous. I don't know what he was doing. I think he lost the ball about 3 times. He thought he was that guy who could dribble. And Rashford, I'm sorry to say this, my man, but you are mostly known for being smart and for pace. You are not Neymar. You are not that guy. But good try though, but you're not that guy. Now, the Sancho not performing has kind of created an issue for Ten Hag, right? Because who else does he fill in that position, especially when Ronaldo is also failing to do his job. Now, this allows, of course, Garnacho to be on the left, and if Ronaldo doesn't perform, he can play Rashford through the middle, but playing Rashford as a centre forward doesn't really amount to anything. He kind of just disappears. What I liked about the Real Sociedad game, although I don't agree with it, was the reality that Ten Hag had tried something new. Now, he tried something new by starting Van de Beek, by starting Garnacho, by putting Bruno on the right, and putting Ronaldo in the centre. And also I believe he started Lindelof instead of Maguire, which was also a good decision in my book because Maguire is too unreliable. But we're going to get to Maguire in that game soon because that's a topic in itself. But yes, Garnacho performing is nothing but good for the team. It of course pushes Sancho to better himself because Ten Hag has showed that he puts players on the field because of merit, not because of stature and not because of how much they pay for you. Is my glasses clear? It is. That's gonna bother me for the rest of the stream. But anyway, yeah. Garnacho performance obviously beat Sancho. I believe he showed more heart, he showed more desire, and he showed way more respect to the team, especially his respect to Ronaldo. Of course, Ronaldo is one of his idols, and Ronaldo seems to have a good liking to him, which because wishy-washy in my opinion because of the reality that Ten Hag and Bruno Fernandes have stated that he wasn't getting the opportunities that he had because of his lack of respect, or rather his lack of proper attitude, which kind of hindered his him getting on the team. Now, of course, some people will say, why should attitude be a factor in the performance of a player? However, the manager's foot, or rather the manager's head, is on the block every week, and he has to put on players that he can trust. And trusting a player with an attitude is sometimes not really worth it. If you think about it, look at Dele Alli, and it's also why Joe Phoenix isn't being played in Atletico Madrid, even though the team currently sucks and they had their last UCL game, and he still refused to put him on the field. Attitude matters a lot to the manager. Remember, the manager's head is on the block. He has to trust the players that he starts with. And he started Garnacho primarily because, of course, his performances in training were absolutely fantastic. He would not have started Garnacho if his training was absolutely horrendous. He would rather go with Sancho, even though Sancho is obviously a weaker link, in my opinion. Now, the lack of Anthony on the field and when the Beek replaced, Bruno placing him. Bruno is essentially a player that goes anywhere, everywhere. I don't think he was too terrible in that game. However, I do think he lacked a lot of creativity. He had one or two good passes that weren't really followed up correctly, which I don't blame him for. However, the issue with Bruno is, of course, that Bruno's status as captain on the pitch kind of creates a problem. In regards to how we view him. The captain of every team is always going to be scrutinized way more than any other player, which is probably why Maguire was scrutinized as he was, especially because of his stature at England. So, yeah, that's all I can say really about Garnacho. He did a wonderful performance. He had a wonderful goal. He should have had about two. He missed one opportunity, but he's young. That's a pretty good excuse for him not to perform at his very best. I was speaking about the other issue, which is the forwards. The forwards at Man United are one of the biggest problems at the moment, primarily because the defense is quite solid. I mean, the defense is kind of lackluster sometimes when you see Lindelof and when you see Maguire starting. My cat is making a noise by the door. Just hold for me. This guy is just something else. Anyway, back at so where was I? Yes, the lack of forwards. The lack of performance from the forwards has kind of contributed to the reality that our lack of goals. We deserve to be in the knockout stages. Don't get me wrong, we do, primarily because we did not perform prior, and our lack of performance in the forward position is probably why we are standing where we are. If you look at our forwards, we have Rashford, Anthony, Ronaldo, Sancho, Ilanga. Martial is injured and injury prone, and I'd love to have him because I believe he's way more of a solid player than most of the other forwards, particularly Rashford. Rashford for me has an issue in regards to his finishing ability, and that ability is hindering him going up in the world and going. This cat is going to be the death of me, I tell you. Hopefully he doesn't make a reappearance. If he does, then it is what it is, isn't it? So yes, him performing as he did is quite honestly one of the worst problems, I guess, with the team at that point. Oh my god, I completely lost my train of thought. Yes, Martial's injury prone, his lack of proper performances and his lack of game time has completely hindered him in the eyes of Ten Hag and every other Man United fan. You have Anthony, who is just getting started in the league, who is actually quite one-dimensional at the moment, I must say. I must agree with James Jonas and Jamie Carragher and Paul Scholes. He's kind of one-dimensional. The only solid performance where I actually had no issues with Sancho and I thought he did his job actually pretty well was in reality the game against Tottenham. The game against Tottenham was by far Anthony's best performance in my eyes. He beat two players. Usually what Anthony does, if you watch him closely, he goes up against a player, he doesn't dribble past him. He somehow can't. I think it's just because his lack of confidence in the league at the moment. And that has kind of restricted him to where he is. And that kind of creates a situation wherein he does kind of what Sancho does, but he's way better. Because if you watch him, he'll try to fake a cross. That doesn't work against good defenders or defenders with a brain capacity. And then he moves to a position where he has to use his left foot, and he's not left-footed, and he screws up. It's kind of what he does, or he passes back. He is way better because he has way more goal scoring potential than Sancho, and he's also just way more of a solid player, way more of a team player. So Anthony is way better of a player, but also we can't rely on him. He's unreliable. Most of the team is unreliable, but I'm starting with the forwards, so let's just go into that. The forwards, Anthony, not that great. I give him most of the time a 6 to a 7. In the game he scores, I give him usually a 7.5, although his goals are not that more as convincing as I'd like them to be. If we move around, we have Bruno. Bruno's too inconsistent. Way too inconsistent for my liking. We should have him. We should. But the thing with Bruno is that his play decreases when Ronaldo's on the pitch. His crosses always seem to be going for Ronaldo, and I don't know if there's some Portuguese handshake that they have before the game that gets him to that to make those decisions. But yeah, that's kind of where I see Bruno in regards to, say, let's say, on the left, Sancho. I've already commented on Sancho's inability to do anything properly. Ilanga needs more time. The issue right now for Ten Hag is that he can't give a lot of time to players given the current reality that we're facing. But I'll get into that again a little bit later. So Ilanga, too inconsistent, needs game time. Can't get game time at Man United, so therefore he can't start, and it's kind of depressing. I'm not gonna lie to you. Then we move on to the centre forward. I've already talked about Rashford. His lack of dribbling. He's mostly known for his pace and sometimes being really smart in beating keepers, but he also has an issue with finishing. That kind of issue, in my opinion, can be taught, and I think he is getting better, especially with his headers. But he looks so off the pace at the Europa game, and the entire team actually looked completely off the pace. I'm not going to overreact about it. I'm not going to go on and on about it. I did that in my previous video. Also, do you guys don't like the overlay? The overlay is increased so much. Confirm then. But yeah, so that's basically how I see those kind of characters. And then we get Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay, let me preface this by saying that Cristiano Ronaldo is one of my favorite players of all time. However, I value the team more than I value any player on the team. Cristiano Ronaldo could have saved cancer. He could be Superman. I don't give a shit. His lack of goals and his more assists, or rather, his lack of goals, and I believe he has three. How many is it? I think it's 3 goals in all competitions. One of them being a penalty and 3 assists. I may be wrong. I may be right. Irregardless, so I may be wrong by one addition, and even so, it's pretty bad for Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't think I need to say it. I don't think anybody needs to doubt it. Now, of course, there are going to be Cristiano Ronaldo fans that are going to defend him, that are going to be saying that, well, Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the greatest, and he was one of the greatest last year, and he carried the team last year. First of all, last year the team finished 6th, so you can't call the strategy good if it resulted in a poor standing. Now, of course, that isn't entirely his fault, and as I always say, Cristiano Ronaldo is not the problem. The problem is not Cristiano Ronaldo. The problem, the thing though, is that people shouldn't prop him as the solution to anything. That's my point. Cristiano Ronaldo is not the solution to anything, more so he's just a player. It's not his fault necessarily. He's become one kind of player, one-dimensional almost. But in the Europa game, I must say, it was one of the standout performances. The issue though was that he was marked heavily, and that is kind of the issue with Ronaldo. I don't think Ronaldo can be categorized as many of the other players, primarily because of him being marked. Every team on God's green earth marks Ronaldo like the sun doesn't shine, which should say something in regards to his ability, that they believe that he will be able to score. And of course, you've obviously heard pundits and the commentary say that you need Ronaldo to score, but Ronaldo's scoring ability is not certain, and that's the issue. Cristiano Ronaldo not scoring as he should be is at no point or at no fault of the team. He missed preseason, and I recognize the reality of what happened to his family, and I sympathize with that completely, and I genuinely believe he should not have played on the team. It's just better for everyone if he didn't. That might sound harsh, but look at what's going on now. This cannot be better for his mental health or his confidence, which is kind of sad that I'm even saying this about Cristiano Ronaldo. It's kind of sad that I even have to make this point, but I mean, the statistics don't pose him as any solution to anything. The statistics don't make him look like one of the greatest players of all time. If you looked at Cristiano Ronaldo's statistics right now, you'd probably be wondering why all the hype is around him. And that kind of speaks for itself. In the game, he did assist Garnacho. He, of course, did miss a easy tap-in my opinion, for Cristiano Ronaldo. Remember, if we are going to utilize the argument that Cristiano Ronaldo should start because of his stature, we should also utilize his stature as a means of evaluating his current performance, and his current performance is not at all at the level that it should be. Should he start? No, but he has to. Cristiano Ronaldo has to start because Erik ten Hag doesn't have many options in that position. Like I already mentioned, Ilanga is inconsistent. Rashford is not a centre forward and disappears when he's in that position and has a lack of finishing. So you need to trust someone in that position, and unfortunately the only person you can trust is Cristiano Ronaldo, who is out of form at the moment. I'm hoping that in the World Cup he gets his act together in regards to form and he kind of produces. It should be the perfect place for him. But you see, the issue is that he's not performing in the Europa League. That's the primary issue. You see, Ten Hag's position is, of course, starting Ronaldo in the Europa League to give him some time to get up to performance because of the lack of pre-season, because you can't trust him in the Premier League and you need to win Premier League matches because you have to get on top of the table. We are aiming for top 4. We're not aiming to win the league. That is not going to come anytime soon, but we are aiming to get top 4. And top 4 is a reality if our forwards can do their fucking job, but they can't. And so Martial gets injury prone. Ronaldo is the only secure option there. Rashford's way better on the left wing. Sancho disappears a lot of the games. And Garnacho is too young. He's too young with lack of game experience. And then we move to the midfield. Where Casemiro is, a steady Eddie. I think that word, I don't know how I feel about the word. I believe he is kind of like a steady Eddie because in the sense of he's being the most consistent, one of the most reliable midfielders that we have in comparison to McTominay and Fred, who you never know what you're getting, and he assists Eriksen quite a bit. Eriksen needs Casemiro because Eriksen lacks physicality. He has speed, he has vision, and he has creativity, but he fumbles under pressure. He's not as good as Casemiro at holding his own and actually sticking it to the enemy, which is going to be a problem moving forward, of course. And that problem showcased itself on Thursday. Thursday was one of the more physical matches that Man United are facing in a while. It's quite disturbing actually that we are getting manhandled by teams like Southampton, by teams like West Ham, and by teams like Real Sociedad. Realistically, we shouldn't, and I think that's more from a lack of confidence, but not lack of confidence from the back, but more so lack of confidence from the midfield and the forwards. Now, Eriksen, in my opinion, does not exude confidence. The guy's great. He's like a nerd. He's like a nerd in the class. You know, he's amazing, but he just lacks the confidence to actually stand up for himself. And that could be a problem. Hold on, my cat is again making a noise. Come here. Come here. Come here. Sorry guys, I just have to caress this. This guy is... What are you doing, Garfield? Okay, anyway, my cat's name is Garfield. He's having a little bit of a moment right now. Yeah, bro. We're just having a moment. Anyway, let him have his moment. So, yeah. That's how I feel about the midfield. Eriksen, man, I don't know how to feel about him. If Eriksen was more physical, if Eriksen was more confident, I think he'd be one of the best midfielders in the fucking Premier League. But he isn't. And this cat just keeps... Oh, my God. Hey, I'll take this cat. Come. What's wrong with you? What a way to start the first episode, eh? With the cat problems. But yes, where was I? Yes, Eriksen. Eriksen's lack of physicality, Eriksen's lack of confidence is the primary issue, in my opinion, in the midfield. Casemiro holds his own. He did kind of disappear in the Europa game and he looked kind of offered for the past 2 games. I don't know what that is about, but I'm sure he'll get back to form because Casemiro is a consistent player and we do need him in that position. Eriksen, yeah. You see, the issue in the midfield is the same kind of issue as the forwards. We have McTominay, we have Fred, and we have Eriksen, we have Casemiro. Those 4 areas and Van de Beek. Now, let's just get this out of the way. Van de Beek can't play. And not because he's a bad player, because of lack of game time. The lack of game time that Van de Beek is receiving is kind of creating a problem. He can't get into form. He can't get to where he needs to be. And because of all of that, he sits now where he is, where he's starting in Europa. He shouldn't have started against Real Sociedad. I'm thinking that Ten Hag wanted to save people like Anthony for the weekend. I know Anthony may be injured. My God, these glasses are going to annoy me. And that's kind of creating the problem with that position. We need Van de Beek. We need Van de Beek to perform. We need Van de Beek to be up to form. But him getting there, it's kind of iffy. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I don't think he's that guy, and I don't think he's gonna be that guy. I think he has the potential to do so, but I don't think he's gonna get the necessary game time to get to that level. We then have people like McTominay, who gives me anxiety, and Fred. What do I say about Fred that hasn't already been said by millions of others? Fred is too wishy-washy. He's way too wishy-washy, he's unreliable, and he loses aerial battles, and he just looks like an idiot most of the time. He's always smiling, which is, I guess, nice if you're into that, but smiles doesn't get you results, and that's the issue with Fred. He had one goal which was kind of, again, wishy-washy against Tottenham, but that was by far his best performance the entire season for me, which is exceptionally sad. And that's Fred. Now, if you want to win, you put on Fred, right? If you want to win, you put on Fred. If you want to win, you try him, because you never know what you get. Maybe you get him great, maybe you get him bad. It's not even 50-50, it's more so 80-20. 80 in him being shit, 20 in him being maybe good. Then you get McTominay, who gives me anxiety. I'll never forget the Chelsea game. I'll never forgive him for what he did. We should have won that game, or we should have at least drawn without conceding a goal. But hey, we have McTominay. Never fear, McTominay is there to help the enemy team. And then we move to the back, the defense. The defense has probably been the singular biggest reason, or not the singular, but rather the biggest reason as to why our performances have been as they are. That's primarily because they have more so inspired confidence in the other players, because they don't have to really worry about the back line, because the back line is quite solid with Martinez and Varane. Now, Varane's injured, unfortunately, but Martinez is is my favorite player on the pitch. So Martinez is by far the only player that you can every game go into and think to yourself, this guy's going to perform. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if he's sick, whatever. Martinez is going to perform, and he's going to rile up the back line. And he has that kind of passion. He has that kind of fervor that kind of motivates the other defenders and De Gea to improve. That is showcased in Shaw. That is showcased in Malacia. That is showcased even in Lindelof being now completely solid. It's showcased in all of that. So I'd say, Martinez is by far the group leader at the back. By far the reason why the defense is so good. That and Varane. Varane is more so calm, cool, and collected, and more of a commander, while I see Martinez more as a lieutenant. So I'm not going to complain about those two. Dallo, 7 out of 10. Most days. At worst, 5 out of 10. Not a problem. But also sometimes not a solution. His passing sometimes lacks. His crosses are good. I think he just needs to be more like a Trent Alexander-Arnold at his best, rather than a Trent Alexander-Arnold at his mid. When he's FA. That's kind of how I see Dallo. He's kind of like TAA, but not as bad. As good. But consistently averaging to above. I mean, in the previous game, I believe it was against Sheriff. Was it Sheriff? No, it was West Ham. He did put in a wonderful performance and showcase his defensive skills, so good on to him. That is wonderful to see. My guy, I'm not a big fan of Dallo. I'm saying he's a 7 out of 10. You see, when I say I'm not a big fan, some people are going to assume that I dislike him, which is not the case. I just don't think he's living up to his potential fully. But I think he's getting there, and I think he will get there eventually, but just not really right now. He will get there eventually, I guarantee it almost, but for right now, he ain't there, fam. Then we get Shaw. Love Shaw, 8 out of 10 most games. Shaw is both good defensively, and he's also one of the few Man United players that actually crosses into the box, which is actually surprising that Dallo doesn't do it more often, and Anthony does, but Anthony is such a wanted pony a lot of the time, but Shaw consistently will do it. At this point in my life, I will trust Martinez and Shaw. De Gea significantly improved under Ten Hag. And I think that's also tied to the defense, and I think that's also tied to just the game plan. Now, De Gea has come out of his box more. He's done more distributions. He's done more passes. He's shown way more confidence, and he's blocked some pretty amazing shots. He's pretty good. I don't think anybody can deny that. He's a solid player. And right now, I'm even seeing him almost as good as Martinez in terms of consistency. So yeah, good on De Gea, good on Martinez. Harry Maguire. Okay. Harry Maguire. Oh my god. It's hard to judge him because before his injury, he was pretty pathetic, pretty much lackluster, but he was also out of the team. He was not starting in our starting 11, which is surprising why Southgate chose him, but that is a discussion for a whole other day. My glasses are going to fucking kill me. I'm just going to take them off. I think I look better anyway without the glasses. Yeah, De Gea, Maguire wasn't starting for us, and him not starting for us kind of improved our defense. Varane took command of the defense with Martinez as his lieutenant. We had Bruno up front making commands as the captain. Essentially, just went way better. Bruno took more command and he could actually have more authority over Ronaldo because of their shared nationality in the, well, rather not nationality, but more so the standing in the Portuguese national team. So they have some kind of what would the correct word be? They have some kind of understanding to the extent that they can talk to each other and that he can command him. I think the issue was with Maguire was that he didn't really demand respect, because why would you respect Harry Maguire when Cristiano Ronaldo's on the field, when Casemiro's on the field? Why? Now, can Casemiro be the team captain? Of course not. I don't think so. I don't think he has that kind of confidence level. You see, Casemiro is more like the silent kid who will beat you the fuck up. So he's amazing in tough situations. He's amazing under pressure, but his commanding ability, I don't know. That's just me though. Yeah, I may be wrong. I hope I am. But Harry Maguire is only going to probably start for us when Varane isn't available and Lindelof is looking a bit iffy, and also probably only going to start when we need aerial ability to both defend or attack. Now, I say attack because Erik ten Hag decided to put him on as a forward. A forward against Real Sociedad, which to me was bizarre. I mean, you have Ilanga, you have Pelistri. Why would you do this? Do you really not trust those players that much that you'd put on this guy just for crosses in, even though we don't have a lot of crosses going in? Like, what is the plan here? And that comes to my second, and that actually comes to the actual concluding point here. The plan. What is the plan of Erik ten Hag? I don't know. I don't think many people do. Possession football, of course, distribution, a little bit of a high line. That's what we just saw against Tottenham Hotspur's players playing their best. And I think that is actually what we should be expecting. That game is probably the epitome of our system, or as how Ten Hag foresees it. The issue with Man United is that the players lack confidence. Most games, other than the Real Sociedad game, they play about 15 minutes of really good football, and then they just start to slowly decline up until half time. Then after half time, they come on. If they have a lead, they play defensively. They just play defensive. They try to secure the lead and they try to win the game, which I don't comprehend. Real Sociedad was one of the teams where they didn't have to score to win, and they still tried their hardest to get through our defense. They gave our defenders a tough time. They gave our whole team a tough time. They gave our forwards a tough time. They gave our midfielders a tough time. Casemiro was getting pissed off. Martinez got a flipping yellow, which is going to be a discussion coming up later. They pushed Ronaldo to get a red. It's kind of obvious what they were trying to do. But the game, man, it's actually quite sad. If we go up against a team that has the physicality to not back down to us, we lose. I almost guarantee it. Because it's kind of iffy. When you watch West Ham, when you watch the Southampton game even, it's kind of weird that the team with a lead is playing with such a big defense with so much time left. With players like Ronaldo, with players like Rashford, with players like Anthony. Why are you playing in this fashion to play defensively? Just go for it, especially in the Real Sociedad game. Why did we not have more position? Why were we losing the ball so easily? And I think that was tied down to more so Casemiro being off, Van de Beek not doing his job, which is not again his fault. And when the players that came on, like Rashford, they didn't really impact the game to the extent that we dominated much of anything. So This entire situation for me is just lacking in so many respects. There are so many things lacking, and I think we need to give Eric Ten Hag some time to get out the last players, to get out these pathetic wastes of space. Particularly individuals like Lindelof, particularly people like Maguire, Fred, McTominay, Van der Beek. Those kind of players need to go, and Sancho. I don't like Sancho. I know Man had to play quite a bit for him. I don't give a shit though. Guy's fucking pathetic. He's stealing a wage at the moment. He should go. Now, in regards to Eric Ten Hag and his planning, first of all, more crosses into the box, kind of obvious. It works. It gives us more opportunities. We have great people that are good in the air. We're gonna ignore Fred. Fred doesn't exist in the scenario. Even Rashford has improved. After watching the West Ham game, I don't understand why they wouldn't put in more crosses, and I can only assume that is because of the strategy of the manager and Benny McCarthy. Benny McCarthy, oh, post. That's a joke. That's a joke. I love Benny McCarthy. I love Benny McCarthy. Benny McCarthy, I love. South African hero in my eyes, and an idol in the football industry. I just like messing with him. Benny McCarthy is probably, yeah. I just wanted to say that. Impulse control, sorry. Yeah, so that's how I see it in regards to his strategy. It's kind of lacking. There's a system that works for like 10 to 15 minutes on average in average games, and then it just starts to decline. And it doesn't make sense to me as to why he keeps trying to play defensively. And I say he keeps trying to play defensively because there are certain subs that are almost guaranteed. Subs such as McTominay, subs such as Fred, Maguire. Stop subbing on these players, man. Give the attacking players some opportunities to actually make something happen. Tell the team to play more offensively. Get Eriksen some cocaine and get him to actually perform under pressure. Let him sniff something. I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't think many people can. I don't know why they play like that. It's bizarre to me. Anyway, I'm getting kind of a headache because I don't have my glasses on. And I'm going to end the stream now. This was the first episode, kind of like last time. I said, apologies to Benny McCarthy. I did not mean to swear you out. I just felt like doing it. But yeah, that's kind of how I see the entire situation of Man United as we stand. I may make a video tomorrow in regards to a pre-game thoughts, in regards to what I see the starting 11 to be. But right now, the team, in my opinion, is averaging a 6 to a 7. 6 on most games, 7 on excellent games, and a 9 on the Tottenham game, which is probably our highlight of the season. Individual discussions in regards to news will come up, of course, but yeah, that's basically going to be it. This is the United African Fan. My name is Theul, and that is it for this episode. Tune in again for more. I can't see shit.